welcome to Trans Fabulous. My name is Sasha Sadek. My pronouns is she, because I will never be her. Woman Jika, welcome and Assalamualaikum. And I'm the co-founder of Trans Sisters United. And before I start, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, pay my respect to their elders past, present, and emerging, always was and always will be Aboriginal land. I also would like to extend my respect to our trans elders past and present. And today we have a very special guest from Cambodia. So we share the region of Southeast Asia. He, pronouns he, she, they, is a proud queer, non-binary Dandenong local with a love for learning, community, and little bit of a chaos we love. Whenever they dip in a new project or just causing good troubles, they bring heart, humor, and big ideas to the table. Always curious, always questioning, and always down for a good story. She is a board member of the Australian GLBTIQ Multicultural Council and a member of the Greater Dandenong LGBTQIA+ advisory community. Hi V, welcome.
ជំរាបសួរអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាខ្ញុំឈ្មោះ V ខ្ញុំសប្បាយចិត្តមកនេះចង់និយាយមួយនាង Sasha.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to say hi and I'm just happy to be here with Sasha in my language of Khmer.
It's called Khmer?
Yes, it's called Khmer.
Okay. I always thought it was like Cambodian language. So, but the proper word is Khmer.
Yes, but I think in English it's Khmer.
Khmer,
but
okay.
How we say in my language is Khmer, but also Cambodian also works as well.
I love that, Trans Fabulous. I have a lot of diverse guests here from all over the world, and I'm so happy to have someone from Cambodia today. A lot of our viewers would love to know a little bit about, what's Cambodia like.
I was born in Cambodia, but my family and I moved here when I was 2 years old in the 90s as refugees. So the Cambodia that I grew up in, we didn't even have a government. Oh, sorry, I grew up in, I was born in. We didn't have a government, and essentially I was born stateless. During that time, after decades of civil war by the Khmer Rouge, where we suffered a genocide of almost 2 million people, and so that part of that 2 million number is almost 80% of my family, and so we were extraordinarily lucky to be able to come to Australia and on the lands of the many First Nations communities as well, that we got to be welcomed and got to live the life that I want to live and the life that my family wants to live. With that being said, with Cambodia, I do get to go very often, and it's a really special place to me. And just we have thousands and thousands of years of history and queer history as well. I'm really inspired by all the queer people that came before me in Cambodia, where I feel like in Cambodia there is this, when you're queer, you have a connection to divinity and you have a connection to the spirituality of those lands. And I think, as you may know as well, Sasha, people like us in our communities, we hold the culture and we also know the bloodlines of our family as well. And these are like really important aspects of being queer, and especially from Asian nations, and that sort of knowing our culture. Speaking like in Cambodia, where all the traditions are held when it comes to weddings and ceremonies, there's always queers like us behind the scenes doing all the makeup of all the like celestial dances,
all the fabulous stuff.
We tell all of our leaders how to practice culture, and that's always something that's always deep within me and resonates with me as well.
I love about that. When I came here, I learned a lot more about my culture, and I embraced more, and I learned that we were the First Nation people in Singapore. To be honest, I had to do the research, the history again about why are we called the indigenous people in Singapore. If I live in Singapore, I don't think I would be doing all this research, because like I said, we took our culture for granted. And I love that Australia, especially Melbourne, is so cultured that make me wants to know more about my culture and about my, my bloodline as well. And I know who's my tribe is as well. It makes sense because I'm always like a warrior, a fighter, and my tribe is the Bugis tribe, and they are known for being a warrior. V, tell us about this outfit. I mean, this beautiful for us we call it sarong. I don't know what would you call it?
We call it sarong as well, but
Oh, right.
but I think that's a loan word from Malay.
Yeah,
Because as
correct.
you know,
Yeah.
Southeast Asia have been trading with each other
Yes.
and being besties for a very long time. But in my language, it's also called the sempot, and the material is called hall, which is a very specific kind of silk looming that
Yes.
creates these beautiful colors and these beautiful patterns. And this one belongs to my grandma.
Oh.
So when she passed away a couple of years ago, I secretly inherited a bunch of her really beautiful traditional costumes,
Yeah.
which I find really funny. When I was 5, and when you're hanging out at home, dancing about, prancing, and you just suddenly find,
Yeah.
a magical closet
Yeah.
out there. And then so it's my grandma's closet. And then I just, I go in, oh, this is shiny and pretty. Why don't I try like her little skirt and her little like temple going dresses as well. And of course, as you do, grandma comes in and then she tells me off, you shouldn't do that. That's for the women, but I guess
Grandma,
how
I'm
the
a woman.
how the tables have turned,
Yeah.
and now I'm wearing.
Can relate to this story because when I was a young boy, yeah, hello, I used to be a boy. Yeah, so I used to use this my mom's sarong, and I put a belt on, and it become like a gown skirt. So and I love that it flows everywhere. It feels like I don't know what's red carpet at that time, but it feels like you're walking on the red carpet. And I used to just walk up and down the hallway without anyone at home, by the way. So and gradually, and then I went into her room and try lipstick on
Yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, oh my god, I'm getting all this flashback after you told me that story. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us who being trans, we have similar stories, isn't it? How we start off, how we play around with girl stuff at a very early age. Me and personally, and also the listeners would like to know a lot more what I know what you do with the community, but I think the listeners would like to know a lot more what you
Yeah.
do with the community.
So I guess I can speak a bit about the work of the Australian GLBTIQ Council, and as well, I mean, also known as AGMC. So I recently joined the board for this year, and so to mark Cultural Diversity Week in Victoria and forgive me if I get this wrong, the International Day Against the Elimination of Racism, we had a flurry of some activities. One was a night of beautiful storytelling from queer people from multicultural backgrounds at the Victorian Pride Centre, and some other work with some of our committee members in Adelaide as well. And what we're really, really excited for, a project with the Victorian Pride Centre called the Queer Multicultural Pride Festival Carnival that will be happening in June.
I actually met you through AGMC last year when we were at the panel for the palliative care event. To be honest, when I came to you like, do you know anything about palliative care? And you said like, you don't know anything about palliative care. I said like, I never thought about if I die, I die, and that's it. I don't think about how I'm gonna die. But at that panel, while we were, speaking, it does make me question. Like, I actually have an option, right? As a trans person, especially coming from a religious family background. I can give you an example. One of our trans, she's an iconic trans woman over here. She's Filipino who passed away recently. Family members, she didn't have any palliative care. So family members actually buried her as a man. They shaved her beautiful hair, her head, and didn't even want any trans woman to come at her funeral, unfortunately, because they said trans women are a sin. So it does make me question that we can actually create our own funeral, how we want to die. I know.
A bit grim.
Yeah.
But really
Yeah.
important to think about.
It
And I
is.
was when I was on that panel, I think I was like the first to say, "Hey, I'm too young to be thinking about my own death." And then I think, as rightly you did as well, you
Yeah.
are also too young to be
Yes.
thinking about our own death. But
Yeah.
really important
Yes.
things to be aware of early in our lives, so we
Yeah.
can plan. And as trans people of color and trans women of color as well, our lives aren't always the safest.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like I could just come out from this place and get, and die. You never know, But talking about death, like we can have our will. I don't know what I want. I mean, like maybe I could throw a big party with all DJs and stuff.
Have you seen like the TikToks of like the super extra
Yeah,
funerals
I
where
saw.
where the coffins like come
Yeah.
like out from the ground in an
Yeah.
elevator, and just like there has to be drag queens, right?
Yeah,
some
it
drag
is, right?
queens
So
at
I
some
think
funerals.
we should start planning already. I mean, like this is amazing. I mean, like I'm glad that I brought this up because this is how we met at the palliative care. I think a lot of our trans people do not know that we have option how we want to be to die anyway. So I think that's a good thing to think about because I'm thinking about it. Yeah, even though
I'll think about it, but maybe like once a year.
yeah.
That's okay.
So and yeah, it would be good something to think about and also create that will for yourself as a trans person. You need that.
I'm hoping that when I'm like retired, there'll be like some amazing queer nursing home that
Yeah.
is just like a party, and then they would hopefully have all the resources,
Yeah.
because hopefully will the
I think
policies
you know
will
what
get better.
we need to actually advocate for this a lot more.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we on that panel and we do not know anything about it because we never thought about it. You said that you doing this project with Victorian Pride Center. Is there any other projects that is upcoming?
I've been
Well,
supporting you with
Oh.
with Queer Muslim Naam, with
Yeah.
Queer Ramadan, and been volunteering, help setting up the queer iftars that are so important. I mean, of course, iftar and Ramadan is an important period for everyone, but especially for our queer siblings from a Muslim background as well. And so I've been incredibly proud to support that work that you have been leading, and I couldn't list all the volunteers that have been trying to make this happen, but I could be here for days doing that. And of course, noting the queer iftar, the all women's iftar that is happening tonight while we're filming. That it's going to be it's been a beautiful.
This is our third year doing the all woman iftar, and it's so empowering. I love that, especially with the woman space. Woman seems to uplift and empower another woman. I notice this even like I go to any other event which is only predominantly women, always lift each other up, and I love about that. I mean, I think tonight will be another amazing one. I really cannot wait, and I can't wait to share it with you as well because this is your first year joining us. This is all about getting people out of isolation as well. That was our main point to do that.
But as well as awareness
Yeah,
as well,
awareness
raising
too,
awareness
yeah.
and educating, and as you said, something that you do beautifully is building
Yeah.
community.
Even non-Muslim like yourself join us and learning about our culture. It's not about a religious thing, it's all about culture, because a lot of our attendees who have lived abroad in the Middle East, they are not Muslim, but they have practiced Ramadan because it's part of the culture thing. So yeah, that is really, really beautiful. You do a lot of things, a lot of work actually towards the Dandenong area. Tell us about that.
I can't speak too much about the work of the council because
Yeah.
it's because
Of course.
we're the first LGBTQIA advisory group for
First, did you say?
yeah,
Oh,
the first.
wow.
So we're still trying to
Yeah.
figure out a few
Find
things.
yeah.
But there are so many queer people in Dandenong. I've lived there all my life, and I knew myself as a queer person in Dandenong, but I never really knew how many queer people lived in Dandenong. But not just queer people from multicultural backgrounds and multi-faith backgrounds that have, of course, Dandenong has a bit of that socioeconomic flavor of it not being as vibrant as say the inner city of South Yarra, but it's still a beautiful place. Like what as well, with just full of color, and it means so much to me.
I start to notice there's a lot more queer people only last year when I met this group of, this Malaysian queer people, and I was like, how many are you here? And then early this year or maybe late last year, I was a key note speaker for the Monash Legal for that just launched in your area.
Yes.
And there's so many queer people there. And I was like, oh wow. I mean, I have 2 years ago, I've been venturing towards the Hume area and the Maribek area, and I just realized there's so many queer people there. But now that people want me to do work over there, and I just noticed there's a lot of queer people there, and I think people maybe don't know where to go. Yeah, and that's why they just come to the city. But I think create a space there, create events there, and get to know the locals. I think that would be amazing. People know, oh, I have friends around here. I have neighbors who is queer. I didn't know you were queer.
As well, I think sometimes in Naarm and in Melbourne, we're very famous for the queer inner city.
Yeah.
Your Collingwoods, your Fitzroy,
Yeah.
your Footscray, and your St Kildas. But there are so many queer people that live in the outer burbs like me. And, we deserve a bit of inclusion and a bit of queer, a bit of rainbow, a bit of pride as well. So I really hope that I can make a positive contribution to my area.
I think you're going to do amazing. I mean, like, Hume did the Pride Festival a couple of years ago. It was huge. And I'm pretty sure if they can do it, Dandenong can do it. You are always around the community, which I love. You always turn out for the community and always volunteer your time. A lot of community work doesn't get paid. Like myself, I'm very passionate because it feels very rewarding for me. Even though I get home, my feet are sore, but I still with a smile on because it was quite rewarding, even though we don't get paid. So is that how you feel as well?
I think I wouldn't want to do it if I was getting paid, because of course people should be paid for their work, especially cultural. A lot of cultural work, but I think this is getting involved through volunteering, benefits me in other ways that is, than just financial, and not that, volunteering should always be, a transactional response. Sometimes it's just fun to do.
And you also get to know a lot more people, new people. My advocacy just took off during COVID. And it's a big shout out to Katie Cameron, who was working at Switchboard. It took one person to believe in me, and it just like falling off like domino. I get bookings every single week. And
booked and blessed, I guess.
Yeah. And I was like, what is going on? I mean, like, I'm still new to this and I'm still shaking when I do speech and stuff because I'm not used to it. But I said, it's a challenge and I'm going to take it and I'm going to do this right because, representing trans women of color, which we don't have many. And this is why I'm here today now. Because of Katie Cameron from Switchboard. She's no longer there. Yeah.
And I'm here today because of Sasha. So, well, it's how it works in our community,
it is,
right?
Isn't it? I mean, like, for me, I like to share my platforms. It's always sharing for me. If I have a success, I want all my sisters to have that success as well. That's how people has done that for me in the past, like Katie Cameron. So this is what I always remember. Even though she said, Sasha, I don't do much. I said, you didn't do much, but you did a lot for me.
Sometimes doing a little bit can mean a lot for someone else.
Yeah.
So never, I guess, doubt that, even the most little bit of kindness can mean a lot.
It is. I mean, like, because of her, I even got my little book, the memoir of Sasha. And because of Katie was an editor for Red Magazine before Switchboard. And she helped me out. When you get into, like, advocacy, the work that you do, is there someone that that inspires you?
Who I'm going to shout out to. When I was 22, I moved to Cambodia and I had a bit of, my gap year, my wonder year. But also why I moved to Cambodia, I watched this documentary on Vice on YouTube when I was like 2022, and it was like of Phnom Penh Fashion Week. And in it, I just saw just queer Khmer people living their best fashion lives. And you know, the perception of Cambodia is such a poor country, and it's so sad. But I didn't realize there were like queer people in Cambodia like me, just having the best time of their lives. And so I wanted to experience that. And so when I moved to Cambodia when I was 22, the first night I went out to, you know, Blue Chili Bar, if you know, you know. And, you know, had so much fun with queer Khmer people, and it provided me a sense of community I've never had before. And at the end of the night, a bunch of trans queens and drag queens took me out for dinner after, you know, after some clubbing and dancing. And took me under their wing. And the really, really amazing part was that I was financially I was financially well off back compared to Cambodian standards, but they paid for all of my food and all of this generosity and took me under their wing. So these are the people that really inspire me, the people that, you know, that have nothing, but yet are able to show such kindness. And so in that spirit, I think will always be in me, and I hope I can be half of what they can.
Well, you inspire me, sis. So that's why you're here. Of course, growing up in Singapore, you always have your mentor and, you know, someone that you look up to. And then coming to Melbourne, I have no one that I can look up to until I've met Sandra Pankhurst. And she's the one who helped us to launch Trans Sisters United. She's a bit of a celebrity because when I met her, I was like starstruck, and then she invited us to her house in Frankston. I was like, we going to her house, like her house? And yeah, we went there. Of course, I'm like this girl because she has a book. We'll have her sign my book and stuff, took pictures. And we become really good friends. And, you know, she advised me a lot, you know. I mean, I love that she doesn't see herself as a victim. And unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years ago, and I was devastated. But there is a kind of person that I want to be. Is so positive, you know. She was really, really old, probably in her 80s already or something, maybe late 70s. And she's still like kicking, doing things, advocate for, you know, for the aged care facilities for trans people and stuff. And I love that she's always very positive, and I want to be that person. She inspires me. Till today, even though she's in her grave, she still inspires me. Yeah. Sometimes when you move places, you do lost that, you know, someone that you look up to. But I end up finding someone to look up to, and and unfortunately, she left us. So yeah, but her legacy is still there. You know, people still talking about it. And Rebecca Loveday, who's been on this show as well, played her role in the movie very, very well, because she was a cabaret performer and also a sex worker, and Rebecca did that role really, really well. I want to ask you this question, like, what is something that you are particularly proud of? And this could include your achievements, personal milestone, or anything else that holds significance for you.
This might be a strange one, and I guess I'll end it with another story of my grandma. So when in our culture, when someone passes away and you're a close relative to them, the male line, the male relatives have the opportunity to become a monk.
Okay.
During her passing, so when a relative passes away, the men can become monks. To help pray for her and as a part of cultural custom. And while I don't identify as a male, at the time I did when my grandma passed away. So I'm incredibly proud of the fact that I did that cultural rite for her, prayed for her soul, and also learned how to meditate and all of these important things. And I think even now, as I am becoming more trans and more non-binary, it's still something I want to keep. And I think it's like maybe my last link to maleness. And I hope that's okay, that, you know, that I can still perform that cultural rite, even if I don't identify as a man anymore. But I think that's why it's so important for queer people like us, because we can also shape our cultures and traditions sometimes, and make them more inclusive and more diverse and inclusive.
I love that. You know, sometimes You do you, boo. Sometimes, people put all these rules and regulations, and, sometimes you have to break it because you don't fit in those categories anymore, and the world is evolving. Queer people are evolving, humans are evolving. So yeah, thank you so much, V, for being on Trans Fabulous, and thank you for being so fabulous as you are. And I'm so happy that I can call you sister.
Me
I
too.
love you, and yes, and we cannot wait to be at Return Pride Center with the project that you are working on. That will be in
June.
Okay, so stay tuned for June, and check out Trans Sisters United Instagram and Facebook, all our socials, and I'm pretty sure we will have that on there. So until next time, see you to the next Trans Fabulous.